Hey everybody, I want to talk to you about a troubling, really alarming issue. The war in Ukraine has brought us closer to the brink of nuclear exchange, and at any time since the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., an independent candidate for president, and I'm extremely worried by the aggressive and reckless behavior of the Congress and the Biden administration in Ukraine. Recently, the White House has been encouraging Ukraine to strike Russian territory, including their advanced warning radar systems. That tightens the hair trigger for nuclear conflict and destabilizes the entire globe. The Russians have now warned that they are willing to use nuclear weapons to win this conflict. The White House exacerbated that provocation with a villainous decision to assist Ukraine in making missile attacks on civilian targets in Crimea. We used illegal cluster bombs to massacre civilian beachgoers on a holiday, including many children. This is a war crime that is repugnant to every American value and strategically foolhardy. As every independent military expert has long predicted, the Russians are winning the war in Ukraine. The Biden White House and its allies in the mainstream media have been lying to the American public and to the world when they promised a victory in Ukraine.
Putin's already lost the war.
We've now pushed Russia into a dangerous alliance with China and Iran. The Russians and Chinese can outmanufacture and outgun us with 21st century arsenals, including drones, hypersonic missiles, and cyber warfare. During the 20th century, nobody in the world could match America's production capacity, but that was before we deindustrialized our nation. Our country no longer has the industrial base to fight and win a global war. Republican and Democratic trade agreements over the last few decades have transferred our manufacturing base to China and other nations. A single Chinese company now makes 75% of the drones on Earth. It's a simple thing for the Chinese to shift that industrial capacity to military production. Today, our naval fleets are decrepit and archaic as the Chinese turn out 21st century battleships every month. Russians have 1,000 to 1,500 more nuclear warheads than we do. For nearly 2 decades, American military policy has been devoted to enriching military contractors rather than our national defense. Our weapon systems are over-engineered, they're over-expensive, and impossible to scale to the numbers needed to fight a global war. Military morale and recruitments are at an historic low. Last year, in 2023, military recruitments were down by 50%. The Biden White House is living in a 20th century delusion where American weapons can still easily dominate the globe. Either President Biden does not know the dire condition of America's military personnel and material shortfalls, or he is unwilling to level with the American public about the cataclysmic weakness that is now exposing America's ballyhooed military superiority as a paper tiger. As I've warned for over a year, a victory in Ukraine was never a possibility. But the White House, nevertheless, staked its reputation on this outcome, and its growing desperation to save face is now endangering the world. A Pentagon assessment predicts that America will lose 90 million dead in the first 24 hours of a nuclear exchange with Russia, and another 90 million over the next 6 months. That war would also be a calamity for all of humanity. The Biden White House's desperate escalations are simply madness, and they must stop. President Putin was willing to negotiate the Minsk Accords in 2019, and the United States government sabotaged that peace agreement. The Biden White House torpedoed yet another peace agreement with Russia in April of 2022. I now call for real peace talks right now with the U.S., Russia, and Ukraine at the table. I'm asking for your help to get this message through to our government. Please email or call your member of Congress or your senator and tell them how important it is to resolve this conflict before it gets any bigger. My website makes it very easy for you to do this. With the form that we provide, you can use your mailing address to look up your representative. We have a pre-formatted message that you can customize. Let's tell our government to stop pouring weapons into the conflict. Let's bring the money home to rebuild America's middle class and our industrial base. Let's hope it's not too late to avert a disaster of unimaginable proportions.